1, 2, 3, 4.
Native footsteps, echo voices for a mile. Silver curtains, purple eyes of painted smiles. Haunting town, digging asphalt, have to fly. Nobody's trying. Bastards laugh, I'm only crying. And I always will remember how it could have been. Shattered doorways dancing, I will dig a father and his land. Made me painted footsteps, all the pennies will turn to quicksand. And I will be alive by the time you reach the note from friends. Crystal figures, candle holders made of brass, wooden matches, little brown box made of steel, black and white still. Sort of kids and steadily, floor drying. I've been painting and been trying, and I always will remember how it could have been. Shattered doorways dancing, I will dig the father and keep land. Made me painted footsteps, all the pennies will turn to quicksand. And I will be alive by the time you read this song from friends. Ready? The corner light is shining, the hotel hallways painted, the city lights so strong.
What up, Tucson, Arizona? This is a Call Me Crazy Show, episode 288. I'm 12 episodes away from 300, guys. And how convenient that is, because apparently my 15-year anniversary is coming up. And it's weird, I feel like I'm watching myself on TV simultaneously, even though it's not. But anyway, hey, I'm glad to be back. It's been a while. It's 2013. First new show of the year for Call Me Crazy. Like I said, 15-year anniversary is coming up. A lot of things are being lined up for us this year. Call Me Crazy is going to be doing a new format eventually, soon. I'm hoping, I guess. It's going to be a podcast, correct? We'll be doing Call Me Crazy podcast. Call Me Crazy is slipping into the future. Slipping into the future. What is that from? Anyway, but we'll be doing a podcast. Recently, a couple weeks ago, Marty, we all know who Gene Mott is. Gene Mott, famous legend from TCCC. And me, of course, Crazy, we've been doing a podcast. And unfortunately, there's been several podcasts which I have not been here for. And fucking Gene is like, hey, let's rename this podcast, and fucking Ray ain't here. He's like, we're giving up on Ray. And you know what I tell Gene? Don't give up on me, Gene. Butthead. No, we still love you, Gene. But anyways, we've been doing a podcast, and we did the first podcast 3 weeks ago, me, Marty, and Gene. It was the first one, I believe, without the microphone. It was the first one without the microphone. Because eventually Marty, by podcast 2 and 3, he was able to get a microphone. So the volume setup was a lot better. But the first podcast that I did with the fellers, we talked about everything. Closed captioning and The Hobbit, and it gets utter pure nonsense, but still legit subject matter. So that's one of the new things that Call Me Crazy has lined up for 2013. Hope all you people out there in Tucson, Arizona had a great year last year, 2012. I know I did. I ended the year on a very good note. I hope everyone else did. 15th anniversary for me is hard to believe, guys, because it was back in March 1998 when I told Marty, screw it, let's do this. Let's do this new idea I have called the Call Me Crazy Show. And really, the Call Me Crazy Show is a spin-off off of Robert and Marty. Remember, guys, back in the 80s, when the Cosby Show was freaking huge. I mean, the Huxtables were the biggest TV family in the TV land back then, and they were black. I'm not saying anything about that, but back then it was a rarity. And then they had a spin-off called A Different World. I'm a Different World in public access. But anyways, back in '97, Rob 2D2, back when he wasn't on a full-time tour in Idaho, he used to film his TV show back at this apartment where I used to live with Anna at the time, which is kind of bizarre because we ended back here in the same complex 15 years later. But anyway, he was filming in the apartment, and he could film me some collectibles we had, and talking about some movies. And then for some reason, I had asked him, or he had told me to film a little skit or film a little segment for his TV show to round it out, I guess filler. And I was so shy then of being in front of the camera, in front of the TV camera, even though I had been in front of the TV camera a bunch of times. I put a freaking Jason mask on, and the name of the segment was called, if I'm correct, Denying the Groove. That's what it was called. That was one of the original titles of Call Me Crazy, which I didn't go with, which we all know. But anyway, I'm talking politics in that segment, and that day when I did that, I remember thinking maybe I wouldn't mind ranting and raving for a whole hour, because at the time, back in '97, it was a good time to be alive. It was the millennium kept around the corner. We all pretty much thought we were living in the future, when in reality, 2013 is the future. Because back in 1997 and 1998, when Call Me Crazy first began, let's see. When Call Me Crazy first began in 1998, we didn't have Facebook, we did not have Twitter, we did not have iPod, we did not have iPad, we did not have Xbox, we did not have PS3, we didn't have cell phone cameras, we didn't have so much, we didn't have internet access like how we do now. Because back in '97, '98, internet access is not like how it is now. Back then, you had to do dial-up, I believe. Back then, you had to put your phone on a dial-up so you could use the internet. Dial-up. Is that even around anymore? Wow. I guess dial-up now is like how we used to see rotary phones. Remember how we used to see rotary phones? Rotary phones, for you guys out there, is the one that goes. I remember that. And how about that, folks? Remember the hand crank phone back in the day? How about that? Yeah, I want that. I don't want a landline. Just give me a hand crank phone that Alexander Graham Bell created. And I know this for a fact. Back in the late 70s, when I was 29 years old, every kitchen in America had one. It was a yellow phone that was hanging up on the wall in the kitchen, and every kitchen in the country. It was always a yellow hanging phone, and they had the base. Yes, the base was on the wall, and they had the coil, and every kitchen had one. And then in the living room, you had the rotary phone. And it was always a beige color, a green color, and never, God forbid, a red telephone, rotary phone like from the White House. Oh, man. But anyway, 15-year anniversary. Like I said back in 98, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have iPod, we didn't have iPod, we didn't have Xbox, we didn't have PS3, we didn't have iTunes, we didn't have Skype, we didn't have Google, we didn't have Bing, we didn't have we didn't have a lot. We didn't have cell phone cameras. I mean, we had cell phones back in 98, but a camera on a cell phone back in 98, that's something that unheard of. And we still have VHS back in 98. Because, guys, back in 1998, I was rocking, and so was Marty, the meanest. There was no Blu-ray back in 98 either, guys. See, we just named a dozen things that were not around. Wow. No Blu-ray. But anyways, I'm having a brain fart. 15 years have come and gone. Hopefully Call Me Crazy will be around for another 15. That is, God's willing, public access in downtown Tucson will still be open. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is next Friday, the 15th, 9 p.m. It's here, guys, the horror movie-thon at the Loft, which is held annually. We never know what month of the year, but it's held every year, which makes it annually. It's up, and this year it's going to be pushed up all the way earlier up in the year, all the way up to February instead of April. And I believe there was one time that was all the way in May. There was a May horror festival, I believe. But get this, folks. 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. We got 7 ridiculously great horror classics. And here we go. We got the first movie at 9 p.m. We start off the horror all-night Screamorama at the Loft. My Bloody Valentine. For all you folks out there, My Bloody Valentine is one of the early copy slasher flicks right after the birth of Halloween and Friday the 13th franchises in the late 70s, early 80s. And I had only seen part and bits and pieces of My Bloody Valentine back in KPOL back in the day, Channel 11 KMSB back in the day, all 20, 30 years ago. But Marty said he has seen the movie. He says you're running the mill normal slasher flick. But I believe it's a 70s film, if I'm correct. No, it's an early 80s film. But anyway, My Bloody Valentine is about a guy who, the killer, who does all the killing in the mines. A couple years ago, I had saw My Bloody Valentine, the 3D version, in the movie theater, and it was okay. But it was going to be great to see the original classic, My Bloody Valentine. That's at 9 p.m. Okay, now we all know who Peter Jackson is. Peter Jackson, he's the award-winning director and writer of the Lord of the Rings trilogy from 10 years ago. And I guess last year he released another J.R.R. Tolkien movie called The Hobbit. And we all know who Peter Jackson is. But back in the early 90s, back when he lived in New Zealand, before Frighteners, before Lord of the Rings, before The Lovely Bones, before King Kong, he was making these great independent his own way of making movies. And one of his movies that he wrote and directed and did the special effects in is called Dead Alive. And that's going to be coming on to the screen at 10:40 p.m. And if you guys haven't seen Dead Alive, it's a 1993 movie or 94 movie. I don't remember. Let me see if we can find out. It's a 1992 film. But anyway, Dead Alive by Peter Jackson, 1992 film. If you haven't seen it, go rent it. Get it on Netflix. Get it at Blockbuster. Get it at Redbox. Get it anywhere you can find it. At the public library, eBay, Amazon. Buy it. Rent it. Check it out. It's called Dead Alive. And guys, you guys have never seen a horror movie quite like this. And this movie's over 21 years old already. And by looking at this movie Dead Alive, you're going to see, wow, now I know why he won the Academy Award for Lord of the Rings. Because this movie Dead Alive, it has this El Mariachi feel to it. It has these early Steven Spielberg feel to it. Reservoir Dogs feel to it. Great movie called Dead Alive. Okay. At 12:20 a.m. the movie of all movies, which for me is an instant classic. When I first saw it as a kid on Channel 11, back in the early 80s, late 70s, Phantasm. Who can not forget the steel chrome ball flying through the air with his little horn, sucking the blood out of your brain in the hallway of the fucking mortuary. Don't tell me they're not scary, guys. But at 12:20 a.m., Phantasm's going to be coming out. And on an interesting tidbit, several years ago, me and Marty were very lucky and fortunate to meet and hang out for a bit with the legendary Angus Scrimm. For all you people who don't know who Angus Scrimm is AKA the Tall Man in Phantasm. But me and Marty, we got to meet and hang out with the Tall Man in real life, and here's proof. And this is how we roll, guys. But Angus Scrimm, the sweetest man you ever meet. And if you're wondering if he's that tall in real life, yes, cause he must have been pushing what 80 when we met him. He must have been pushing 80 some years old when we met him. And my God, he's a Hulk. He's a brute. He's still a brute. He's still the Tall Man. But it was great meeting him, and it's gonna be great to see the whole movie theater packed to the brim watching Phantasm. Cause like I said, that ball flying through the air, sucking the brain out of your skull in the hallways of the mortuary. Yeah, that's good. Alrighty, then a brand new digital restoration at 2 a.m. John Carpenter's 1982's Christine. We all remember Christine. Christine is the movie about the car, which is a 1958 Plymouth Fury, and it is possessed by something or someone, and it's based on a book that he had written in the late 70s called Christine by Stephen King, and it's a great book, not a classic book, but a good story. But anyways, Christine, the movie is, don't get me wrong, John Carpenter, great director, great story, good movie. But I had always wished that the Christine movie would have these scenes that I left out of the movie that are in the book. In the book, there are several car scenes where the car, I don't want to ruin it because if you have never read the Stephen King book, you should before you see the thing, before you watch the movie, and then compare it, because there are some car scenes in the novel, Christine, that it gets pretty nightmarish. I'll put it that way. But they're not in the movie, and the reason that being is because I can imagine back then there was effects constraints. I guess, because at the time I could probably see it back then. There's no way they could have filmed these car scenes that were in the novel back then. But if they ever do a reboot of Christine, I hope they inject those scenes from the novel into the movie. Now with CGI and set building got a lot better. We're all seeing what they've done on Batman Rises and Inception. You can spend $2 million on a set and make it look incredible. So if they can do that for Christine for the reboot, that'd be great. But anyways, getting back to the All Night Scream-O-Rama, brand new digital restoration, Christine at 2 a.m. Wow. Shitter. Alright, then 2 hours later, at 4 a.m., movie number 5. And for all you people out there, I am a huge, we all know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge book fan. I read books by the dozen every week. And if you don't believe me, you can ask everybody who is important in my life. In my life. But anyways, I read a lot. But and other than that, I watch a lot of movies. And for the past 10 years now, I've been in this phase where I've been trying and finding as much horror foreign movie I can find, or I can see, make copies of, buy. For me, foreign horror movies are on par with American horror films. Not lately though. Not with all these reboots of horror movies like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw, Nightmare, horrible remakes. But I love watching new horror foreign films. And a couple years ago, I saw this movie called Record. And now Record is a franchise. 2 and 3 been out for 2's been out for a while. 3 just came out last year. I just saw it a month ago. Great movie. But anyway, Record. For people who don't know what Record is, out here in the States, there's these movies called Quarantine and Quarantine Part 2. What it is, Quarantine 1 and 2 is remake of Record 1 and 2. That's all it is. But the original Record is way better than the original American Quarantine. Even though Quarantine has some cool people in it, including Jay Hernandez, the Spanish version of Quarantine, the original version Record, a fucking awesome movie, guys. And I'm glad it's coming on at 4 a.m. Because I'm pretty sure most of the people in the movie theater at that time haven't seen or ever heard of Record. And they're probably going to be thinking, where have I seen this movie before? Quarantine. But anyway, Record is a better movie. Every year, All Night Scream-O-Rama they gotta inject a new school horror film. One time it was The Descent. The other time, another lineup had Dead Snow. And it's great because I have seen them all. Every year they came out, when Dead Snow came out, the All Night lineup, I was like, I had already seen it. Descent, I had already seen it. Record this year, I already seen it. But it's great because I like to see new people get turned on to this. Okay, then at 5:20 a.m., movie number 6. I don't know if we're saying it right, but I remember seeing this movie on CBS in the early 80s, late 70s, back when I was 34 years old, called The Manitou. And what it is about a woman who's pregnant. But get this, guys, she's pregnant, but not through her stomach, but she's pregnant through her back. She's gonna give birth to a baby through her back. And what comes out is the monster. But anyways, I have not seen that movie since the late 70s, early 80s. So it's gonna be great to watch it at 5:20. And for me, the kicker, it's gonna be great. Movie number 7, the last movie of the lineup, is Creepshow. 1982, Tom Savini, Stephen King, George Romero, Fright Fest, Five Tales of Terror, cameos everywhere, Stephen King, Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson, Hal, and Adrian Barbeau. They're all in there. And my favorite story in Creepshow is story number 3, which is The Crate. But Creepshow is the last film at 7 a.m. and the movie will be over at 9 a.m. And it's going to be great. And I hope we'll see you guys there. Anyways, this is a Call Me Crazy show. This is episode 288. I'm going to wrap it up for a little bit. I think I've been talking for quite a bit. But the next segment we'll be talking about Comic-Con, what our itinerary is going to be, who's going to be there. And one thing I want to say, thank you Baltimore Colts. Thank you Baltimore Ravens for winning the Super Bowl, because I want some money. Thanks guys. Okay, later guys.
One, two, four.